David, what were you saying about the choices you make? You're
And
saying
so we
something
all
about
have choices to make. We all
mm,
make decisions, and you have to own your decisions. So, specifically, what we were talking about is, well, first I want to highlight we make fashion decisions, and I just want to highlight I'm in my basement. Stuart is out in our office spaces out in what technically is that area? Lone Tree, I guess.
Lone Tree, Colorado.
Lone Tree, which is about 30 minutes away. Steven is in Philly in his house. We did not coordinate, and we are wearing the same shirt, and it is adorable.
It's so cute.
It is
Technically,
so
I'm two
cute.
hours ahead of you guys, so I chose first, and you guys copied me.
Yeah, but I woke up earlier than you did, probably.
Well, I don't know. I went to the gym this morning. I needed a
Me
shirt
Woke
to
too.
up
get
at
stinky
4.
in.
Stu woke up at 4. So is that the
I
shirt
did.
you wore to the gym? This is a shirt I wore bike riding. So I guess that's.
Gross.
But no, we were talking about choosing to poop your pants or not. That's what we were really talking about. And
Well,
it's
you
just
just went
choices you
there.
make if you want
True
to
statement.
be efficient. Well, I mean, you said it. You brought it up. We were having a private conversation. You brought it to the public, and so I'm not embarrassed. I don't give a rip. These are decisions you make. If you choose to do that, then you choose to do that. Maybe you're more efficient. Maybe you're not. Who knows? I don't know. It's up to you.
Speaking of decisions we make,
Heck
you and
yeah.
I were on a bike ride last week, and we were talking about some of the decisions we've made to purchase things that have brought us a lot of joy. And we started kind of throwing out some ideas about that. And then Steven brought up something that brings him joy. So I was like, hey, this would be a good podcast. Let's record.
So we
So
shall.
we shall. Steven, what were you speaking of? What Goody? What do you want to say? You can't hear anything?
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah.
Huh.
This is
We don't
better
need
now.
him.
Yeah, we yeah.
This
Steven.
podcast just went to 5 stars.
Uh,
Yeah, no, I love this question. There's another podcast that I listen to that asks this question sometimes too. They ask like, what's your favorite purchase in the last 12 months? And it's a personal finance podcast, so most of it's focused on being, spending less money. So it's always interesting to hear. And the backstory of this is I love concerts, I love music. I am not a musician, but I love concerts and listening to music. And so I've always had like Bose and nice headphones and speakers, and I use AirPods and that kind of stuff. But we at our retreat down in Phoenix a year ago, a year and a half ago, something like that.
yeah.
The Airbnb had Sonos speakers, and I've always known that Sonos speakers were good, but I also knew that the downside of them was they only do Wi-Fi. So recently, I was like, man, I want to check this out, and so I discovered that another place that I love, particularly to take my wife on a date to, is IKEA. If you've never been on a date to the cafeteria at
The
IKEA, get the
Swedish
meatballs.
meatballs.
meatballs, delicious.
You are not living life. So, pro tip there, a little intimacy pro tip for you on this real talk. So IKEA has like a partnership with a bunch of big name brands, and Sonos is one of them. So you can buy like a cheaper version of the exact same speaker with IKEA, and it's just IKEA by Sonos, right? So I have purchased 4 of these so far. So I purchased one regular Sonos speaker that's sort of like my base station that you can Bluetooth into, and it sort of runs all the stuff, and then 3 of the IKEA ones. So it's if you do the math on that, that's like several $100. And I love it. I love every morning I come down, me and my son start making breakfast, pull open the app. You can choose what you want to play and like which speakers to send it to and like how much volume each speaker is at. And now my 3-year-old is like, let's listen to the Beatles, let's listen to Johnny Cash, let's listen to like Dream Theater. And I'm like, man, I love this. This is a purchase that was not cheap, and I regret 0%.
Nice, dude. Do you ever play like your like heavy metal, like super blast volume in your house on those
Oh
things?
yeah, no, I definitely do. So, my son and I will jam out to some Powerwolf. We'll jam out to some some Dream Theater, some Metallica, some Avenged Sevenfold. So the other piece of this too, right, is like I've gotten back into vinyl, into records, because the record players have the Bluetooth on them has gotten better, and so I Bluetooth from my record player to the Sonos speakers, and then I can kind of choose what room I want it to go to. So yeah, no, I'm giving my son the full tour minus country because that's trash.
I disagree.
I think it's hilarious that Steven always talks about how young he is and this and that, and he's going vinyl. I just like that. I think it's
Yo, all the hip
awesome.
kids are doing vinyl now. Did you know that
Yeah, they
this
are.
year
You wearing your
this
bell bottoms
year-
yet? Have you got your bell bottoms yet? Because like they're going back to that as well.
I do not. I don't have pants that reach my feet. So no, did you know that this year was the first year, this year or last year was the first year that vinyl outsold CDs since the CD was introduced?
Really?
Fun fact for today.
I didn't know people still
There you
bought
go.
CDs.
Me
So
neither.
I guess there's that too. I guess there's that
Mm.
aspect. But you know, and I love that. And when you say that, it's very appealing, you know, just to bring, not to bring depth to it, but I think there is depth in, you know, when you start talking about the speakers, I'm like, man, I want to, I'm considering now I'm going to do some research and look into those, because I want to be able to have a dance party anywhere in the house at any given moment and just like put it on. And I can just imagine how much fun, you know, like there's speakers upstairs and be like, okay, DC, throw it on. And then like me and the boys and Mile come out and or we put a little Tay on, little Tay Swift on. And my daughter would absolutely love that.
Yeah.
I introduced her to System of a Down yesterday because we're sitting in my car and she's playing. She came with me to run an errand and she kept playing Taylor Swift on her cell phone. I'm like, okay, I got it. Like, I got it. And she wouldn't stop. I'm like, okay, here we go. Boom, System of a Down, turn it up. And she did not like that. She didn't like it at all. But I was jamming out to that. Stu, sometimes our technology is a reflection of us as people. And so my headphones just completely muted out when you started talking, and they came back when Steven started talking, which is really strange. Maybe I'm just projecting like, oh my gosh, there's his voice again. I don't want to hear it. So my headphones were like, shut down, shut down.
Is it
So
only
I
when
actually
I'm
have
talking?
no idea. It was the weirdest. That's 100% honesty. It's the weirdest thing that's never happened before. But they did come back for Steven, which is really strange. But because I know what we were talking about beforehand, you know, I don't know if you shared your purchase, but I'll tell you, man, these bikes that we bought, you know, and my purchase was a little bit more substantial than yours because I had to buy two, one for me, one for my wife. But I'll tell you, man, it has been, even this morning, I was just able to, there's a new Army guy up the street, awesome dude. And there's another guy, a dad on the football team. And, you know, I just hit him up like, hey, man, Monday morning, you guys happen to be free to just go ride. And they both were. And so we spent some awesome time just out at Bear Creek. I didn't realize you could get like 13 miles and not repeat trails out there. So we went on this long ride. But that is a purchase that I legitimately look at and I'm like, I have zero regrets. There's no buyer's remorse and they're not cheap, right? I mean, this is a significant investment. But I think the point of all this is you can make these, and I'm curious on yours, Stu. I think I have a good sense for what it is, but you can invest. It is possible to not spend your money in a you know, in a way that you don't think deeply, and that it's just like spur of the moment, spontaneous. I spend this money. There's a way to actually like think through purchases very deeply, to consider the joy that they'll bring to your life, and then to actually do it and use it, and then you know, and actually thoroughly enjoy and have zero regrets. I mean, you just have to go on, you know, Facebook Marketplace or whatever to see all the bikes that are for sale for people that probably bought them without thinking deeply about it. But you really can exude self-control. You can exercise self-control, put a lot of deep thought into this, and then it becomes something that not only is a purchase that you enjoy and love, but a way to connect actively with your community and to do things that are just that bring you a ton of joy instead of regret, which I love about this mountain bike. Alchemy, check them out.
Yeah, man. I mean, that was a large purchase for me. I mean, we were talking about the mountain bike being the thing that brought us joy. One, because you and I go do it together. We get outside, it's exercise. But it was not a cheap purchase, and I'm a pretty frugal guy. So it was challenging for me to spend that much money on myself. But to your point, like I've had so much joy uh riding that thing, and more so I think because uh riding it together, like going in community and going with another group of men. We started, we were doing more of these Thursday kinetic connections. And that's an activity that we actively make invites to other men to go and do together. And the bike itself is awesome, and it does bring a lot of joy. But if I was doing that just by myself, I would still enjoy it. But I think doing it was the purchased forced more community and connection, because the thing was the catalyst that is causing the invite, if that makes any sense. And so, similarly, I think another purchase that I made just within this last year was like fly fishing gear. I've never really done fly fishing, right? You and I had done it just a few times when we had been together, but I had just kind of either borrowed your gear or rented it or something like that. But now having some of that gear, and I'm still not good at it. However, I did catch more fish than David last time we went. Like doing that together and going out onto the river, like in there and using the fly fishing gear. And again, that wasn't cheap either. But it brings a ton of joy to get out in the river and do that together with you and do that in community.
I've got like a bonus purchase that I know at least two of the three of us have made this year that falls into that community bucket, which is a fire pit. And so I know that two of us have recently purchased solo stoves, which are not cheap, like especially when your other option, like the other end of the spectrum, is a hole in the ground.
That's what
for
I have.
Like a functional fire pit. Yeah. So
I mean, I actually the house that I bought actually had a fire pit in the backyard already made, which we absolutely love. I agree.
Yeah. But just talking about, like, you wouldn't think that spending, I think that most of the time spending more money on things doesn't necessarily make it better, right? But there are a few times, like you're saying, can it enable some of your values? I love this conversation because there's the term valuist that I really identify with, if you're familiar with that. But there's a few things that if you're thoughtful about it, it can really leverage other parts of your values, like community. And so I know that, like, us purchasing a solo stove, shout out, it actually is smokeless, which is impressive, and I did not believe it until I saw it myself. But we have used that more in the last month with other people around it, with groups of people, than we have probably done a fire in the last 12 months with our regular old, hole in the ground type fire pit. So I know that was another
when
big
it's
one
intentionality, right? Like, part of what I love about the solo stuff, why I purchased it, was we do it at the retreat, but some of the best conversations we have are around the fire, and just having a fire and sitting there. I did it this weekend. My buddy, in their backyard, they have a fire pit, and I received all the smoke, and it was but it was still fun. It was a bunch of us, our wives, and some dudes just sitting around, like, hanging out, laughing, making jokes. But what I love about the solo stove is you can take that environment anywhere. And that was the intent, right? I took it in my front yard, like in the street, and we lit a fire. And dude, the neighbors came. It was awesome, because a bunch of people came out. We started playing, like, games, like some of the games we played at the retreat. We started playing those, like ladder golf and can jam, and then all their kids came, and they're all in our front yard destroying my grass. I will never have grass, which I love. I love it. So HOA, stop hitting
Did
me,
you
'cause
lose in your own front yard too at those games?
No, I never lose. I don't lose. Champion. Just want to reiterate, champion. TKM retreat 2023. Just want to throw that out there. But but it if you do something, the whole point of all this, if you do something with thought and consideration, you can move from a place where you're in this cycle of gathering hobbies and buying and then regretting and going and selling and losing money on these things or whatever. You can genuinely be so intentional with everything in your life, to include your purchases, that excuse me, that you can actually bring yourself a ton of joy. And not only that, but you can build community, right? Taking a fire pit, I'm telling you, taking a fire pit to your front yard and lighting it, it just attracts, it attracts people. They bring their chairs out, you sit around, you hang out. It's awesome. It's something simple though, right? But it does require a little bit of investment. But to me, it's well worth it. It's well worth it. And, you know, even looking at car purchases, like we're looking at cars, and I'm like, okay, what does this car enable? Like, I don't care anything about status. What is the height of this car? Does it enable us to get back to BLM land and take the kids to rugged places and set up camps and do camping? It's funny because we've been thinking through this, and that's what I want to get to enable us to do that. And my little guy wrote a book about camping. Like, they write these little books. He's a first grader. And the thing he chose to talk about was camping when we go out and do stuff. And so, like, it hit me. I'm like, man, there's an impact to this, and our time and our investment and pouring into our kids and pouring into our community and our families and all this kind of stuff. There's truly a benefit. And you can, if you're blessed enough to, budget and resource, you can get things that actually bring joy and not just, suck it from your life, right? Put you in a bad financial position. So intentionality, I think if we boil this down, it's not about going and buying stuff. It's being very intentional with everything that God has blessed you with. And when you do that, you can truly have a different level of joy.
Love it, dude. You guys are making me want to go get one of the solo stoves now.
Dude, they're dope. They're super dope. And you have a great, like your little circle there.
Yeah.
You just put it in your driveway, and like, I'm telling you, man,
the street youths, they'll come out.
The street youths.
All right. Be intentional with purchases. Hey, I'd be curious, when this comes out, when this posts, comment on socials and give us, what brings you joy, the purchases that bring you joy. I'd like to see that in the comments when this comes out. Good stuff, dudes.
Nice. All right. See you.
Yeah.